Today we're going to be replacing the rear wiper motor on our 2007 Honda CR-V. Here's the parts diagram from Honda showing the whole rear wiper motor assembly. This part here, which is number 7 in the diagram, is the rear motor assembly. Now, I normally get the parts from Honda, but in this case, Honda is selling just that wiper motor part for almost $500. For a car that is now 18 years old, I think this is insane. So I looked and found an aftermarket motor on Amazon. Here, this is the one that I purchased, 62 bucks. If this motor lasts me just a year or two, I think that's a win. I really can't justify spending almost $500 just for that one part for something like this. Okay, first thing we're going to do is take off this clip piece here. Okay, now we have to take this nut off. This is a 10 millimeter. Now this is held in with the tooth grooved gear here, so it has a specific position. You can say parallel to either your decal or to the base of the windshield like this. And the best way I think to get this off, I lift the blade up like this and then wiggle it left right. It'll loosen off of the seat on that gear and then come out like that. Now we can remove this rubber cap. Again, wiggle it back and forth until it comes out. Now I'm just going to take a wire brush just to scrape off some of the rust and debris from around that nut there, just to clean this up a little bit. Take an adjustable wrench right here and just loosen that up. I'm going to leave that on loosely for now until we can access the motor from the inside. All right, now we have to remove the interior trim here from the tailgate. So I'm going to take a trim removal tool, and you can take an index card just to work in behind the trim so you don't scratch your paint if you're using a metal one. And just find a spot that you can wedge in the tool like that and just pop off the trim piece a little bit at a time. And then you're going to come down and then the same thing. And back here, there's a little clip like that and the piece dangles. The same thing on this side. And then up in there, you'll see 2 small bolts. These are also 10 millimeter bolts. I'm just taking a socket wrench to get those out. And that's that. And once you can get your fingers in there, just work your way across, pop off the clips. And then you can bring down the trim piece like that. Okay, now up inside you can see here's the original motor. This is where it goes through the rear windshield, and you'll see here there's 1 bolt, 2nd bolt, and then around here a 3rd bolt. Now to get this connector off, you got to be careful not to break the clip, and there's a little hole here on the top. We're going to have to get a pick in to pry to release this, and just kind of work that in, and then that'll pry that out. That will let you then take this right out. Take off this clip here that holds the wiring harness. We're just going to reach behind this and pull that through like that. And now we'll take off each of the 3 bolts. These are again 10 millimeter. So I'm just going to put the socket on there. I'll loosen them up. These are what they look like when they come out with the washer attached. Now, I had left that exterior bolt attached so that this wouldn't fall through when I was working on the inside. So now what I'm going to do, now that I know we have all this taken care of, I'm just going to leave this bolt in so I can take off the outside one. Then we'll come back in and remove the last one here. So now we'll just take this off the rest of the way. It might stick again towards the end like mine did here, so I couldn't just take it all off by hand. Just take that off. Now back on the inside, that bolt was removed out there. We can take off this last one here. I'm holding the motor with my other hand. Now we can work this through, just like that. Here's the old motor and the new motor below. You can see they match up very well. The new one comes with replacement nuts, also with the rubber grommets here. So everything lines up. We're gonna now put the new motor in the reverse of the process that we took the old one out, but I am gonna have to remove this new nut, otherwise it won't go through the windshield. Just gonna insert the new motor the same way that the old one came out. You'll just line up the holes like that, and I'm just gonna get this one started by hand. I'm gonna do all of them by hand, just to make sure we have this in place, and then I'll check the outside before I tighten this down. Okay, once you check to make sure that this piece went through the windshield and is lined up on the outside, we can tighten down each of these 3 bolts around and do those a little bit at a time. I don't want to go too much because I don't want to completely destroy those rubber grommets. Just basically make sure it's firmly in place and it's not moving. Okay, once these 3 bolts are in and secure on the inside, we can come in and reattach this clip. Okay, to get the clip back in, I take that same pick and just hold open that little side piece. That will allow me to push this in all the way, and then it should be firmly in place. And if this other clip is in good shape, which ours still kind of is, you can just push that back through, and that holds these 2 wires there in place. Now back on the outside, we can take that larger nut and thread that over the motor. Now, you'll notice here that this metal ring may be loose like this. That's okay, you can pull that off and clean that. But underneath, take a look, you'll see that the rubber grommet right there has an arrow pointing up right there. So make sure that the rubber grommet is aligned the right way and wasn't turned as part of your process taking this out. Once you're sure that that's aligned, you can put the metal piece on top with this orientation facing out. It seems counterintuitive, you might want to put it on that way, but you can see this channel here is designed to mate with a rubber grommet like that. And then you can thread on the nut. Just make sure that that's nice and snug. Okay, now before I put a wiper blade back on itself, I'm actually going to test this and let the motor cycle back and forth to find the park position. So I know that once this is set in the park position, then I can attach the arm. Okay, so I let it cycle a couple times and then turned it back to the off position, and that should be where the blade is parked. So now we can attach the arm. Put the plastic cap over the top, reattach the wiper arm itself, knowing that it's in the parked position and the blade will be parallel to the bottom of the windshield like that. And when that's in the position like that, just kind of hold it and then put the nut on. The new nut is a locking nut, so 10 millimeter, so that you can tighten that down. Holding the blade while you do that to make sure that the arm is anchored to the teeth on the inside. And we can put the plastic cap back over the top. Like that. All right, now I'm going to put the trim pieces back up. I realized when I pulled this off that I should have pulled off the trim pieces here first. So in so doing, I broke a few, bent some of the edges here. So I had to glue them. I'm going to let that sit overnight before I reattach those pieces. But I will get this reattached. I'll set it up in place, and then I'm going to reattach these 2 bolts to hold it while I work on putting the pins back into their holes and popping it in place. So I'm just going to line this up kind of right over here. Feel it kind of pop into place, just like that. And then while still holding it, I'm going to get these bolts started here to help me keep it in place, just in case it tends to pop off. And then we'll reattach these little clip cap pieces like that. Put that in there and clip forward, and then in here and clip forward. And then we'll just check going around, make sure all the trim pins are anchored in place. Okay. And then I'll come back tomorrow in the morning after the glue here has cured, and we'll reattach the remaining trim pieces here on the sides, across the top, and on that side. All right, so this is the next morning. I'll let this glue cure overnight where I had broken off the edge pieces here on the trim. Let's get this reattached. So for the side trim piece, this little clip here is going to go into this notch, and then you're just going to kind of align that pin underneath. It'll just take a little manipulating, and then bring it forward, and you'll see underneath where the other pin goes, and then just press and press to clip that in place. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Bring in the clip, feel for the pin, feel for the other pin, and press, click, and that will stay in place. The last piece of trim will be the center piece here. You'll have clips on the edges that will go into these spots, and then 4 clips to go in the holes, and 2 angled ones that will go in here behind the 3rd row brake light. So we'll just line that up and push until that's clipped in place. And that's how you get all the trim back in. All right, now let's test it out. Now you may notice that it doesn't come all the way down. In my case, I may just have to adjust this a little bit, but the windshield is dry, so I notice there's some play here. I can just bring it right down. It's not slipping as far as I can tell. So I'm gonna leave that as it is for a few weeks, test it out. If I need to make an adjustment here, I can, but hopefully I won't need to. And that's how you replace the rear wiper motor on the 2007 Honda CR-V. I hope that was helpful. Thanks very much for watching.